Everything here has purpose, and each purpose a living thing. All things are interconnected by webs of DNA string. Remove any strand of the web and it may weaken or fall, especially life's productive base, whose work sustains us all. Poetic Empiricist, Difference in Time, 2013. Water behaves miraculously and has rules of its own. Some properties don't align with chemistry rules that are known. The cause is simple, but the results are exquisite and beyond. All life relies on the weak and transient hydrogen bond. Poetic Empiricist, Difference in Time, 2013. In the field of education, we are taught to make things slightly more challenging than students' current potential. Kids rise to what's expected of them. They lead with their curiosity. This is why I consider Poetic Empiricist books kids' books. It's the same level of science I teach adults. This is one impetus for me to write these books. The science my adult students need is the same science we were exposed to in middle school, high school, college. It all starts with the basics and builds. It's obviously easier to build from a solid base. Scaffolding is the education term, which is great symbolism, building structures that reach new heights. I've actively been scaffolding my own life and plan to continue building. Looking back on where I started, I am proud of the climb and everything I've taught myself along the way. 10 years ago, in 2011, I was grieving the loss of my beloved career and workplace. I had been teaching a handful of different science classes day, night, and online to adult learners. It was my dream job. Every group needed different levels and branches of science. I created hundreds of lessons and excitedly delivered them to eager students. Despite the school being a successful, busy place, it became a casualty of education budget cuts at the state level. Looking back wistfully on that time in my life, it feels like a dream. So in the spring of 2011, it was a pivotal moment. I was in free fall and had no sense of what was coming next. I certainly never would have guessed it would be author or creator. It all started with these persistent, rhyming, lyrical thoughts. When I finally allowed myself to sit down and write, Bears in the Moss came out. Then, in very short succession, I wrote Space Trip, Parsimony's Disguised Fractals, and Plate Puzzles. The idea of differences in time had been percolating in my mind for over a decade. Evolution is part of the mandated biology class curriculum. I taught it many times to many audiences over the years, but mostly as a prerequisite for practical nurses returning for their RN degrees. Being an earth-space science teacher, my topic outlines also included speciation, modes of evolution, Earth history, mass extinction, fossils and radiometric dating, transition series, and vestigial features. I absolutely love teaching all of it, but unfortunately it can feel confrontational. One memorable night class in the fall of 2009, a friendly student informed me she was okay with evolution. She said she was a Christian, but she was aware that the Bible states time is different from man and God. This was my missing piece. After class, I immediately Googled the passage, and there it was. Differences in Time was subsequently named. To me, a difference in time was the only difference that makes a difference in the argument of science versus religion. When taken from a long view, the 7 days of creation essentially lines up with the scientifically derived history of Earth. Science and religion can coexist. There's no need for denial or Flintstone-esque creationist teachings. Here's my original introduction to Differences in Time, written in 2012. What is the difference between the 7-day story of creation, as told through the book of Genesis, and the scientifically derived history of the universe? Time. Science tells of a universe that is over 13 billion years old, a history in which 13 billion years elapsed before the advent of mankind. The story of creation, in contrast, takes place in 7 days. This difference in time becomes an excuse not to believe in science, yet Einstein has shown that time is not absolute. In his theory of relativity, Einstein exposed how time is relative to motion and location in the universe. This means if you believe in God, you and he are not experiencing time the same. To use a Bible quote from Peter, "But do not overlook this one fact, beloved, that with the Lord 1 day is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as 1 day." With Differences in Time, I wanted to give an overview of Earth history while weaving in all my favorite topics and lessons. I completed the book and illustrations early in 2013 and applied to federally copyright it all. The book was officially copyrighted in 2014. It's been a marvelous and productive decade. As I continue to scaffold and construct my life, I can't imagine what the next 10 years will look like. Overall, I'm full of hope and excitement for what is to be.